Hi, I'm Aaron, and I'm everywhere. As a frequent traveler, I rent a new car almost every week. You can ride along if you want to while I try to figure out the features on these cars without the user's manual. Won't that be fun? So come along, let's go drive something. So this week we're going to be tooling around in a Buick Acadia. Going straight to the "Is this your dad's car" scale? Solid 10. It's a Buick, your dad would drive this. End of story. Unless he's cool like me and just get stuck with it as a rental. Several times during the week I've had trouble where my phone is actually clearly connected to the car and it says no device connected. It's clearly connected, it's clearly charging. Even if you go to the maps are giving you directions instead of a map, because the map is supposed to be here and the directions are listed on the phone, and it won't connect. And this has done this to me 3 or 4 times during the week. And the only way I've found to overcome this is to actually turn off the car and restart the car. I think that's kind of bullcrap. It is working correctly. It's been really easy to switch back and forth between the different apps and to be able to go back and forth to the home screen by pressing the home button, which takes me back to here, so then I can switch between my devices. And then if I want to, I can either press this button or this button and go back to the home screen to go back to CarPlay and back to my maps. So yeah, we have push buttons. And so basically I would have to put on the brake, and I had to pull this to put it in reverse, pull this to put it in drive, and then push this to put it in park. Haven't checked out neutral, but I suppose that's actually had to go through reverse or drive to get to neutral. And then it has a manual shifter here too. And I have not checked out the manual shifter because that seems really awkward to me, that I would be driving here and then reaching down with my right hand to shift that thing up or down. That doesn't seem like a good plan to me. I think that's clearly meant more for pulling a trailer or something like that. This is an SUV, so you might be pulling a small, like a jet ski trailer or something. I don't think I'd try to pull a pontoon boat with this or scarab for sure. And even then, you wouldn't want to use that going down the road because you'd have to take your eyes off the road for too long to see it. And when I'm pulling a trailer, my eyes are locked on the road and on my mirrors. Speaking of which, I did have a little bit of a visibility problem with the A-posts. That's the driver's side A-post or pillar. That's the B pillar. And way back in the back is the C pillar. So that's what these are called, between the windshield and the door, and then between the front door and the rear door. These are called pillars or posts, depends on who you talk to. At any rate, I had some visibility problems, not with this one. It just seems really thick between this point and the mirror. That's a really bad blind spot, and maybe my seat isn't adjusted correct. But several times when I went to make, say, a left turn, and I would look for oncoming traffic, and that thing would be right in the way of where I'm trying to look, and I have to do this as if I've got a teenager sitting in the front seat, and their head is always in the wrong position. So yeah, that's the only real thing visibility-wise that I didn't like about the car. The mirrors could have been a little bit bigger on the outside mirrors, but I drive a truck and I'm used to a mirror that's bigger than my whole head, so I get kind of spoiled with that. And whenever they downsize, particularly on the sports cars, it's impossible. To me, it's like looking through a microscope. That's the only real ergonomically thing that I did not like about the vehicle. This little guy down here now, it's not unusual to have a trunk button in this general area, but the fact that you can adjust it to where it opens 3/4 or max or what have you, and then push that button there to open and close the hatchback, that's a new one. I don't know who else is doing that, but I haven't seen it before. Otherwise, it's got all the standard buttons in all of the standard places on there, on the steering wheel and what have you. So, no big deal there. Nothing to write home about there. The sync on this works great. You can sync or not sync, auto or not auto. Again, this is a reminder, when the automatic is on. So, oh boy, see, it just really kicked up there because now it's in automatic and it's behaving more like a thermostat on your wall at home. And here, if I turn the automatic off, then it behaves more like it runs on this setting and this setting only. And then I adjust it up or down for cool. I did have a couple of problems with it either being too hot or too cold, and I couldn't find the just right baby bear. The air conditioner actually tends to blow ice cubes. Either I was freezing or I was just a little too muggy. Maybe that's me just being too picky. Also had some problems in the morning, and now in the morning it wasn't so bad. In the morning I could just clear the dew off the windshield immediately and then run it one or two more times on the way into work, and it was fine. But in the evenings, when the temperature drops and the humidity goes up, I had a really hard time with the window defrosting, the window frosting over with condensation. Let me start over. I had a really hard time with the window condensating, not frosting, because you don't get frost in Louisiana, I don't think. But it would condensate, and then turning on the defrost made it worse. I guess because it's blowing cold air across it and is making it worse. And I didn't want to turn on the heater. And what I wound up doing was cracking the windows and running the windshield wiper. And again, maybe I just don't know how to drive a vehicle in a humid environment. I don't think that's true. I grew up in Miami, so I don't know. I guess every car has its own personality, and you've got to learn what works in that car. But I think I should be able to hit a defrost button and a windshield wiper and it should clear right up. And this one didn't. So again, I failed to, in the 5 days that I've had this car, find that just right baby bear. But every time that I went out to eat and then would go back to the hotel, I would go through this struggle where I was like, just freaking leave the windshield wipers on. Meanwhile, every other car on the road does not have this problem. I just look like I'm constantly cleaning my windshield. I drove a Volkswagen a few weeks ago that had this, and the third row seat must be making a comeback. These are folded down right now. But the SUVs, I'm seeing the third row seating come back more and more, and that's something that didn't used to be a thing. They got rid of them for a while, and now the last couple of years, they're clearly making a comeback. But at least the mirrors do have not only a fairly good view, but their anti-collision system, that little, it shows what I suspect is supposed to be, hey, you're about to crash symbol. Looks kind of like the Sprint dude is dancing. Shout out to Nixa because they robbed their guy from the Sprint guy. But anyway, it does provide a good signal to let you know a car is there, but it's not a distracting thing. Sometimes those things are so bright, you go, whoa, what was that? And in this one, it's just like you see it. It's like a light, a dummy light coming up on the dashboard. It's an indicator, not a distractor. And I do like where they put that and how that works. On the Fast and Furious scale, this being a 10, this being a 1, this gets a solid 0. The only way this car is in any of those movies is if it was accidentally caught in the background or they were blowing it up for some reason. On the Are You Going to Get Lucky scale in this, only if she's a soccer mom, and the third row fold down seating will be very helpful. But two things about that. One, as I've said before, if you're viewing whether or not a car is going to get you lucky, you should probably reevaluate some things in your life. And you should triple reevaluate those things with a therapist if you and a soccer mom are hooking up in the back. You got issues. So I know I've said this before, but as much as anything, biggest surprise on this vehicle is how much I did not hate it. Even though it is definitely my dad's car, and I don't want to be that kind of dad. Now that said, if I have a midlife crisis and hook up with some girl half my age that has toddlers, that's its own thing. If that were the case, this is the perfect vehicle for that. If I were traveling cross country by car, like if I was a regional salesperson, this would be a good car for that. But then I could excuse myself from it by going, it's a company car. It's not a bad vehicle. It's just not my kind of vehicle that I would shop for to buy. And you don't have to drive a Buick to get there, but you should definitely get to Rotolo's if you make it to Alexandria. Great service and really good beer. It's amazing I keep renting cars and don't have an Uber account.